Welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be looking at depth in design. What is depth? Depth in graphic design refers to the illusion of three-dimensionality in a two-dimensional space. It creates a sense of realism, focus, and hierarchy, making design feel more dynamic and engaging. Depth is basically adding realistic, real-life feelings to a design. The moment you see a design and then you feel like it's something you can actually hold, or it's something that looks very real, then you have added depth to your design, and it ensures that your design feels real. It creates focus and hierarchy, and then makes it more engaging. That is what depth does to every design that it is used in. Techniques to create depth in design. The first is shadow and highlights. Adding drop shadow, inner shadows, and highlights can make elements appear raised or sunken. Now you take a text and you add inner shadow to it. It's going to look like the original color of the text is sunken, something that just enters inside. You add shadow to it, it makes it look elevated or above the ground. You add highlights to it, it's going to make it have a feeling of a light ray coming in from the angle you decide to put the highlight on. That is one way to achieve depth in design. Another is layering. Placing elements on top of each other create a sense of foreground, middle ground, and background. So for example, I take a rectangle, I duplicate it, and then just move it slightly upwards, and then I change the color of the one lower to a bit darker shade of that color. It can create depth to make it look realistic and then have more like a side view to it. So just creating foreground, middle ground, and background. Another way is to use perspective and scale. Objects appearing larger in the foreground and smaller in the background create a 3D effect, making it look like it's coming from, you are seeing it from a distant view. Then blurring and focus. Depth of field. Blurring background elements while keeping the subject in focus creates a realistic depth effect. Then the fifth one is overlapping elements. Placing one object partially in front of the other to make it look closer. So this can also achieve depth when you duplicate the same object but making them different in size as they get closer to you. So let's say you duplicate three shapes and then you are placing them slightly above each other and you are making them different in size. So it's looking like something it's getting bigger as it comes closer. So it's just to create an illusion of this thing being realistic. That is what depth does, making it look realistic. So seeing that way, you feel like it's something just shining forth or coming forward, and it's just you creating a visual illusion with depth. Depth can also be achieved with gradients and atmospheric perspective. Distant objects appear lighter, less detailed, and more faded. So it's just making sure that an object using either gradient or atmospheric perspective, that is more like, let's say in the daytime, somebody seeing something in a distant place, from a distant place, it's going to look faded and unrealistic. So fading something out can also work. Then using gradients, whereby maybe from the left to the right and it's just faded because of the gradient, is a sense of perspective and it's creating depth. And then the seventh is lighting and color contrast. Light and shadow variations make objects appear three-dimensional. Now when you create a shadow and then you add a light effect on an object, you have created a fade in and fade out effect, which is creating depth in that design. Why is depth important? The first is it enhances realism and engagement. It makes your design look real and engaging to the eyes. It also directs the viewer's focus on key elements. This is creating focus on something and less focus on another thing. With depth, it adds hierarchy and distinguishes foreground and background. Your right usage of depth can create foreground and background and lets us know the difference. Then it also creates a sense of space in otherwise flat design. That is 4 of the main reasons why depth is very important in design. And the right usage of depth creates a aesthetic and eye-pleasing design. Now, looking at these images, we are seeing two circles, and then we are seeing one with a shadow and the other with none. The one with the shadow looks like a ball on the ground, and with the effect on the ball making it look white on top, look like there's an highlight on it. It's making the first one look like something on the ground, and the second one look like something just on a flat background or levitating. That is what depth can do to a design or an element, simply just with highlight and shadow. Now, this design is not divided into two, but we're seeing one part of the design totally blue and the other part with a dark shadow, more like there's a shadow there. Now, if you bend your phone and you look at it from the side of your phone, you are going to see a feeling like, let's say you are walking on the ground and you see that part of you in front of it. It's going to look like that place is like sunken. That is just depth in play. Even looking at your phone, it looks like that place is totally different from the other parts of the design. That is trying to make sure that that place looks realistic. If I'm to take this a step further, I can make it look cracked and just add a cracked feeling on it. That is also texture and a feeling of depth in design. Basically just using your initiative and using your creative thinking to make something look realistic. And we have come to the end of this video. See you in the next one.